In the locker room, before every match, he would lock the door. He would pour rice powder into his palms and smooth it across his face. He would heat an iron and press it through his hair until the curls surrendered. Only then, after the ritual was complete, would he walk out onto the pitch and become the greatest footballer Brazil had ever seen. His name was Arthur Friedenreich, and for 30 years, he hid who he truly was so that he could play the game he loved. São Paulo, 1892. A child is born to a German immigrant father, Arthur Friedenreich, and an Afro-Brazilian washerwoman, Matilde. The boy has his father's pale green eyes and his mother's tightly curled hair. In a country only 4 years removed from slavery, this combination is dangerous. It is also, in time, what will make him a legend. Arthur grows up in São Paulo, which does not want him. The football clubs of the era are gentlemen's clubs, clubs for Englishmen and German immigrants, for the white sons of coffee barons and railway directors. Black players are forbidden. Mixed-race players exist in a cruel gray zone. They might be allowed to play if they are useful, quiet, or hiding. But Arthur cannot stay away. He learns the game in the dust of São Paulo's poorer neighborhoods, kicking rag balls under gas lamps with the sons of immigrants and freed enslaved people. He is fast. He is sharp. He has a left foot that bends shots around defenders as though the ball were on a string. By his teenage years, he was the talk of the neighborhood. In 1909, at 17, he was invited to play for Germania, the German immigrant club where his father had connections. He arrives at the ground with a small bag. Inside it is rice powder, a comb, and a small iron. Before he takes the field, he locks himself in the changing room. He whitens his face. He straightens his hair. He waits until the team is already on the pitch before emerging, so that no one will get too close a look. It is the most painful compromise a young man can make, but it is the only way through. He plays magnificently. He scores. He runs the defense ragged. And the men in the stands, the white men in suits who decide who is allowed to belong, decide they will look the other way. Just this once. Just for him. His career explodes. He moves to Ipiranga, then to Paulistano, the most aristocratic club in São Paulo, where he becomes the center forward, the captain, the king. He wins championship after championship. He scores goals at a pace nobody has ever seen before. The newspapers begin to call him by a single nickname, El Tigre, the Tiger. But still, every match, the ritual, the rice powder, the iron, the locked door. In 1914, Brazil played its first ever match against the touring English club Exeter City. Friedenreich is on the pitch. He scores. Brazil wins 2-0. And in that match, history quietly shifts. A mixed-race player has worn the national colors for the first time and helped beat the country that invented the game. 5 years later, in 1919, Brazil hosted the South American Championship. The whole continent watches. Uruguay is the favorite, the reigning kings of the game. Brazil reaches the final. The stadium is full. The president is in the stands. And in the dressing room, Arthur Friedenreich performs his ritual one more time. The final goes to extra time. The score is locked at 0. The minutes pass. The crowd grows tense, almost unbearable. And then, in the second period of extra time, the ball falls to Friedenreich on the edge of the box. He doesn't hesitate. He strikes it cleanly with his left foot. The net bulges. The stadium erupts. Brazil is the South American champion for the first time in its history. In that moment, the rice powder doesn't matter. The straightened hair doesn't matter. He is the hero of an entire nation. They lift him onto their shoulders. They carry him through the streets. They write songs about him. And for one shining night, The country that had spent his whole life trying to deny him finally claims him as its own. But the morning comes, and the ritual returns. Throughout the 1920s, Friedenreich plays on. He won another Copa America in 1922. He becomes the highest goal scorer in Brazilian history by a margin that defies belief. Some accounts say he scored over 1,300 goals in his career. Others say more. The exact number is lost to time because record-keeping in early Brazilian football was inconsistent and because much of what he did was too vast to count. He plays for São Paulo, he plays for Flamengo, he scores in friendlies, in finals, in derbies. Children in São Paulo's streets imitate his moves. They tie strips of cloth around their heads and call themselves tigers. But the man behind the legend is exhausted. The ritual is exhausting. The lie is exhausting. He cannot show photographs of his mother. He cannot speak openly of his roots. Every morning, he must become someone else to be allowed to be himself. And quietly, slowly, something begins to change because of him. Other mixed-raced players are starting to appear on Brazilian teams, then black players, then more. They look at Friedenreich and they see a door that, however painfully, has been pushed open. Vasco da Gama, the working-class club of Rio de Janeiro, became the first major Brazilian club to field black players in 1923, openly. The white elite tries to push back. They try to enforce literacy tests, work requirements, and ways to keep the color line intact. But the dam has cracked. The water is rising. Friedenreich never speaks publicly about it. He never gives a great defiant speech. He never tears off the rice powder in front of the cameras. He plays. He plays until he is 43 years old. He retired in 1935, still scoring, still feared, still magnificent. And then, the world begins to forget him. By the 1940s, a new generation of Brazilian footballers was rising. Leonidas, Domingues da Guia, men who are openly black, openly proud, openly themselves. They play with the freedom Friedenreich never had. They do not need to lock the dressing room door. They do not need the rice powder. And in their freedom, the old tiger fades from view. By the 1950s, he was a quiet older man in São Paulo. By the 1960s, Alzheimer's began to dim his memory. The man who once carried a nation forgets his own name. He forgets the goals. He forgets the trophies. He forgets the rituals and the lies and the love and the loneliness. He died on the 6th of September, 1969. He is 77 years old. The newspapers print short obituaries. The country he had helped transform barely pauses to notice. Today, every Brazilian footballer who has ever pulled on the yellow shirt walks in their shadow. Every dark-skinned child in Rio who dreams of being Neymar, of being Pelé, of being Vinicius, every one of them owes a debt to a man whose name they have probably never heard. The man with green eyes and curly hair. The man who locked the door before every match and changed his face so that a country could change its mind. He never raised his fist. He never gave the speech. He scored. And in scoring, again and again, thousands of times across 30 years, he proved a quiet, devastating truth, that the game belonged to everyone, whether the rulebook said so or not. His name was Arthur Friedenreich, the Tiger of São Paulo, the forgotten father of Brazilian football. The man who hid who he was so that millions after him would never have to. If this story moved you, drop a comment and tell me, which forgotten football legend do you think deserves to be remembered? Whose story should the world know next? I read every comment, and the best ones inspire the videos I make. And if you want to go deeper into the buried stories of football's golden century, the heroes, the history books left behind, check the links in the description below. There's a whole world waiting there.